What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about an offensive tackle in this year's draft that could be the Detroit Lions' answer at the right tackle position. So let's get it started.
You know, I got to shout out DoseOfDion, man, because it was actually the first time I went live on YouTube. And, you know, guys don't know DoseOfDion. He put out a lot of good content for the Detroit Lions.
Welcome everybody to another video. Glad you guys are here. And yes, today we're talking about offensive lineman Teven Jenkins. Now, I first want to just apologize to all you guys out there. First off, you Teven Jenkins fans, that I have not done a video on Teven Jenkins yet. Okay, that's my fault. I should have. And to those non-Teven Jenkins fans, or who doesn't know about Teven Jenkins, that you guys should have known about this guy. Okay, because Teven Jenkins is legit. I was too caught up in the consensus rankings, things like that for Teven Jenkins, I think, in the past. So today, when I went back to watch him with some other offensive linemen like Christian Darrisaw, I came in with a fresh mind. You know, I didn't know what to expect. And man, Teven Jenkins surprised the heck out of me. All right. I have not clapped this much watching an offensive lineman's film ever. I was literally clapping. I was excited watching this guy play, which is weird. You're like, what? You were clapping? Yeah, I was excited. I could feel the energy that Teven Jenkins was giving off on the field, and I was feeling it too. I was like, this is hype. Like, this is fun to watch. Okay, so if you want to watch an offensive lineman, you're like, who should I watch? Who's exciting? Teven Jenkins is that guy, okay? Because this guy will give you so many pancake blocks, big plays that just make you like, what? What? Are you serious right now? That's what Teven Jenkins will do for you. Last night, I was taking a look at the Lions' offensive line, and specifically the right side of the offensive line. I was working on some videos, things like that. Unfortunately, I didn't get one out, but, you know, I was watching the right side of the offensive line, and I was really focused on Crosby, and I was trying to ask myself, you know, what do I think the Lions should do at the right tackle position? What do I really feel like we should do here? And I went back, I watched some Crosby film, and I got to say, Crosby was solid. You know, he was definitely solid. He definitely improved last season as he basically took over the right tackle role, which Big V was signed for, but Big V was dealing with injury, so he was pushed to guard. It looks like the Lions are going to make him guard next season as well. So I was watching Crosby play, and Crosby's solid, but there's no question that Crosby wasn't great or even that good last season. Now, maybe he can improve. I mean, next year is the last year on his deal, so next year could be that year where he got trying to see if he could prove himself that he should be the Lions' long-term answer, because the guy's only 25. And I was like, yeah, I mean, maybe this could be the long-term answer. Not saying he was a bad tackle, because he wasn't. Definitely not great. Last season, you could see sometimes his inability to really work out there with speed rushers and pass rushers on the edge. You know, he kind of would bend at the waist a little bit there, and guys would beat him to the outside. I mean, he was good. He just wasn't great. He allowed 5 sacks last year from the tackle position. I thought to myself, yeah, you know, this is okay. You know, it's not bad. I mean, if he can improve upon this, then maybe he could be our answer going forward, because he's only 25 years old. And then I was running through some numbers, you know, from offensive tackles drafted in the last few years. Like, I mean, the top offensive tackles, like the first 5, first 7, things like that. If you go by PFF grades, those early offensive tackles that were drafted in the last few years, most of them, a majority of them, graded out lower than Crosby did last season, which is kind of interesting. So, like, for example, last season, the first 7 tackles drafted, you know, that played tackle last season as a rookie, there was only 2 of the first 7 that graded out higher than Crosby did last season. That was Tristan Wirfs and Jedrick Wills. That was it. And then I went back to 2019, I did the same thing, and there was only one player that in the 2 years that had 1 year where he graded out slightly higher than Crosby. And at that point, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, I can see, you know, the case here to keep Crosby, let him be the tackle, maybe draft someone developmental, that if Crosby improves this season, you let him be the starter, you can give him an extension, and then he can be your guy going forward. I can see that case based on how difficult it has seemed to draft tackles. You know, it has been difficult to draft tackles, and especially have them be extremely successful right away. So I think there is a legitimate case for that. But today I wanted to go through, watch some tackles, and man, I was blown away by Teven Jenkins, man. I was blown away. And I don't know why this guy isn't getting more love. Someone's trying to tell you this is a second-round player. I don't know what they're trying to tell you. I don't see that at all after watching him play. I have some clips that I want to show you guys with Teven Jenkins. We're going to go through the things I like and, you know, the things that, you know, I guess concern me a little bit here. But there is so much to like about this guy's film. Really just across the board. How many things he can bring to the table. First off, let's touch on the fact that this guy played right tackle every year in college, which is what the Lions are trying to do. I mean, there's always projection. Can he go to right tackle? It's a completely different spot, and I've seen offensive linemen that have tried to go from one tackle spot to the other, and they struggle. Example, Adrian Ely. I believe he tried to go from right tackle to left tackle for a game, and he looked messed up. It just did not look right. So there always is that concern. This guy played right tackle every year at Oklahoma State. That was his, you know, position. But he still played a lot of snaps at left tackle as well. So you know he can play both spots. Some people believe he can move to guard. So really what he's good at, you know, it could make sense to see him move to guard. But this is a 6'6", 317-pound offensive tackle out of Oklahoma State. Statistically speaking, for Teven Jenkins, 2018, he allowed 2 sacks. Since then, he hasn't allowed a single sack. He allowed 7 hurries, 2019, 0 quarterback hits. Last season, 2 hurries and 2 quarterback hits, 0 sacks. So statistically, clearly improved year by year, and those are really nice numbers that compare with some of the best in the class. Not as good, but they do compare, especially when you consider the amount of games that he played and some of the competition that he went against. Know what to expect, but on pretty much every single level, I mean, every single part of the game, I was impressed. Was he perfect? No, but I was impressed with so many things. So let's start off with the things that I like. First off, the guy has the offensive lineman mentality that you look for. So I was actually watching a video. I don't remember exactly who this was from, but it was like, NFL draft scouts, and they were talking about what they look for in offensive linemen. It was a pretty long video, and, they were breaking down each part of the game because, I don't know how to watch offensive linemen if I don't know what I'm looking for. And, obviously I'm not perfect with that. So I was watching that, trying to see what they look for. And, I got some notes from that, what they look for with offensive tackles. And one thing, or any offensive lineman, one thing that they look for is that mean streak. A guy that's a finisher, the guy that plays through the whistle, the guy that wants to finish plays. He wants to just embarrass you on the other side. And Teven Jenkins, 110% checks that box. He checks that box better than most I don't even know if I've seen offensive linemen like him in the class with that kind of, just attitude and mentality for it. Every single play, he wants to throw you on the ground. I mean, he just wants to finish you every single play. It's like he's playing Mortal Kombat, like finish him. And he's got so many pancake blocks, and that's why he's so fun to watch. I mean, you love watching offensive linemen just throw defensive linemen to the ground. That is awesome. That's great stuff. Okay, that is great stuff. And he definitely checks that box. So that box about mentality, wanting to finish, that kind of thing, being able to finish, that's also a very big part of it. Easily checks that box, probably better than any tackle I've seen so far. The next thing he checks is awareness. Now, he's played for a while, right? He's pretty seasoned as a player. In the 3 seasons that he's played, he's only allowed 2 sacks. And I think a big reason for that, and one sack I believe that I think I saw, which was one of the sacks, the quarterback held the ball extremely long. But what you'll notice with Teven Jenkins is that his awareness is also really good. A majority of 2020 film, I looked at the most recent year, which was his best year, so it's good. He didn't opt out last season. But his awareness was great. I'm sure that's something that has happened with time, but that makes him way more of a plug-in and play type of option because he sees everything that's going on. He's aware for stunts. I'm very impressed with his recognition. When he sees a certain thing, like when he sees the pocket collapse from the inside, to get over there and try to help. I mean, that was the first thing that impressed me. I was like, wait a minute, how did he even get over there? He went from tackle to center to help the center when a pass rusher got through. He sees all of this. He'll start with his guy, he'll keep the setup, and if they pass off to a stunt, he'll be there to take on the stunt. His awareness is incredible. I didn't see him get lost. I didn't see miscommunication. I saw this guy flying around the field to make sure that he wasn't missing assignments. And I think that's something that comes with time. So while people get worried about his age, because he's going to be 23 years old on draft night, 24 by the time that his rookie season is over. Yes, he's not as young as a Penei Sewell, so he may not have the upside of that guy or something like that. And I'm not saying he's the best tackle in this class. That's not what the point of this video is. But he has great awareness, and I'm sure that's something that's come with time. But wow, I mean, he sees the entire field from the right tackle position, and he's known as a leader. And I think the fact that he can also do it on the left side is very valuable. You talk about offensive line being able to play different spots. That was another thing that these draft scouts said were so important, was seeing a guy that can be versatile. You can project it, but can I also see you do it? The next thing that I like about him, and this comes more to maybe the technical side of the game, is his release. It's something I love about Taylor Decker from the left side. Taylor Decker's release off the snap is great. He's always the first guy off the snap. If you watch Lions film, Decker is so quick off the ball, and that gives him an advantage on the defensive players as soon as the snap hits. He's already in position. Teven Jenkins has that same ability from the right side of the offensive line. I mean, I couldn't imagine a guy like Taylor Decker and Jenkins both getting off the ball first before anybody else is out there. That would be pretty darn awesome. He does that, okay? Now, he's not an elite athlete, so that is one of the, things that's like, okay, can we teach this? Maybe not. This is probably going to be somewhat of a ceiling for him, but he gets off the release so fast and he puts himself in great position that it hides a lot of those problems, that hides a lot of maybe athletic problems, recovery problems, because he's in position before anybody else is, okay? It's not a thing where he's going to fall asleep and sometimes he's like, oh gosh, the play's starting. No, he's always out there. He's out there first. And I think that's just something that's, just being really locked into the game. Because like I said, Decker has that same trait, same quality, and you can see it as well when you watch Teven Jenkins. I thought that was really cool, and it puts him in a great spot. Then you talk about the hand usage. Now, as a pass rusher, people will tell you, he has issues, going against some of these pass rushers, with the bend and things like that, and the technical side of the game. What? I'm like, what the heck are you talking about? You watch this guy play, his hand usage is phenomenal. Well, yes, he may not be an elite athlete, and I think he is lacking some recovery speed when you watch him if he is getting beat, but he's not usually beat because his awareness is great, and secondly, his hand usage is phenomenal. I mean, he's pulling out defensive lineman moves on defensive linemen. This guy's slapping their arms down. He's going with the two-handed swipe. They call another move, what do they call it? A wrap technique. I learned about this. And this is kind of where he just basically uses the energy and the force given off by the defensive lineman. Yeah, like Star Wars. Uses that by the defensive lineman. for his own benefit. Attack, you know, they have their swim moves, they use their arms, things like that. He'll kind of just take all that energy that they're exerting in that punch and kind of reroute that punch. And once that's, you know, all that energy is lost and it's not actually going into Teven Jenkins, now they're off balance, and it gives him a great opportunity to just finish off the player. And he kind of slaps that arm down and then he finishes off the play. And he just takes pass rushers out of the game just like that. Just takes them out of the game. And usage of hands is great. You see it all the time. He's battling with guys. He's slapping their arms because he doesn't let them get inside his chest. He doesn't let them, you know, get inside and kind of dictate and move him around at all. He keeps everything off his body. His hand usage is phenomenal. Probably another thing that's come with him playing so much, having so many reps, is just he fights. He battles with defensive linemen. You know, he's not going to let them get inside because at that point, then they have more control of what's actually going on here. He's all out that MR mentality. And he's the type of player that's very patient when he's working towards the second level. He breaks down when he's taking on linebackers because those guys are quick. It's tough to keep up with him. So you really got to be patient out there. You can't overrun things. He does a nice job trying to be as patient as possible against linebackers. Sometimes you'll see him run past because obviously, you know, he's 6'6", 310, 317. You're talking about defensive backs, linebackers. They can kind of just sidestep him. So he has to really break down in space, but he does give you that. I saw it on wide receiver screens. I saw him block to the second level. Where he excels as a blocker, where he graded out the highest, is in a zone blocking scheme. And what's important about that is that's what I expect the majority of run plays to be with the Detroit Lions, is zone blocking, because that's what Anthony Lynn did in the past. So he checks that schematic fit for the Detroit Lions as a guy that blocks extremely well, zone blocking player. And like I said, he'll finish. So if he gets you off balance, he's going to put you in the dirt. You know, he's going to finish out the play. And what's great about a finisher there is that, you know, defensive players at that point don't have an opportunity to get back in the play. You know, because sometimes you let them go a little bit too early. Sometimes the running back will cut back or something and go to your direction. And then all of a sudden they can get themselves back into play. If you finish and put them in the ground, there's nothing that they can do. They're taken out of the play. They're erased from the play. And he does that, like I said, better than I don't think any offensive lineman I've watched so far, at least at the tackle position. You talk about the size part of the thing. 6'6", 317, that's incredible size. It's the length that also concerns people. It was 33.5 inches, which is longer than Penei Sewell and Rashawn Slater. It's still on the smaller side. Like, for example, Crosby has like 35-inch arms, and you can see it show up. He's able to kind of just reach out and hold defenders off. He has a little bit longer than Penei Sewell, Rashawn Slater, 33.5 inches. It's not bad, but some people believe that that could be a limitation and push him into guard. He probably could play guard just because he's so good in a zone blocking scheme and how aware he is. But I think he could play a lot of different spots in the offensive line. He seems like an extremely versatile player because, one, he's already done right tackle and left tackle. But I feel like he could probably bounce over the offensive line. But just his awareness and the level and the mentality that he brings to the game, he's probably going to be successful everywhere. And then I love the off-the-field stuff. The way that the Oklahoma State speaks on him as a leader. You know, some people call him, you know, the baby-faced assassin, you know, like kind of the Curry nickname. That's the same nickname they give to Teven Jenkins. He does got a little bit of a baby face, but he's mean. I mean, he's nasty. He wants to finish everything, but it's the off-the-field stuff. Here was a great quote from his coach. He said this: he doesn't know how good he actually is, how important he is. He's extremely strong, which we can see it. Teven Jenkins is built, okay? His upper body strength is ridiculous. And what's cool is that you'll see like pass rushers or really whoever it is, before like they go by, for example, like if he's riding a pass rusher, some people are going to be worried about because athleticism there, can he ride pass rushers? Well, his release is so good that he puts himself in spot, and then he has a great kick step, ride pass rushers out of the play. And when he does that, what I love is that, you know, if he can't take them down, bring them down, and he pushes them out of the play, that last push that he'll give, I mean, he's going to shove them 2-3 yards back off the play. He's going to shove them out of the play. He's like, here, leave with that. You know, take that with you. The guy is extremely strong in his upper body. And then you pair that with his hand usage, he's a tough pass protector. Coach said he had about 35 reps of 225 in practice. 35 reps of 225, and I don't exactly remember his pro day reps, but it was really high. It was very high for an offensive lineman. He was one of the best in the class. I guess his coach underestimated him. He had 36 bench press reps at his pro day. He had graded above average in every single athletic workout that he did, including running a 5:03:40 time, which was like the 85th percentile, which is incredible. And then at the pro day, he gave us this quote. Now, I'm going to warn you right now, there is a bad word in this. So if there's any kids out there, you know, close your eyes or something. I'm not going to read it, but I'm going to show it on the screen right now. So yeah, that's a quote. That's what he said about the type of player you're getting here. Is that not the type of just mentality you want from an offensive tackle? Very strong player, very strong upper body that can ride defenders out of the play. One of the other knocks I saw against him was that, you know, hey, he hasn't played against great competition. And he maybe not, but if we're in comparison to a guy like Penei Sewell, hasn't played competition, I think he's played better competition in Big 12. One example was that against Texas. We saw him go against Joseph, the first round talent pass rusher out of Texas, and he shut him out of the game. I mean, you could say arguably the biggest test that he had in 2020. The guy was irrelevant when he went against him. I didn't see him do a thing. We get caught up in Slater against Chase Young because Chase Young's phenomenal. This guy shut him down. I mean, it was great. I mean, he didn't do anything in that game. That was one of the best tapes I've ever seen. I mean, there was like, throughout the game, he just purely dominated down after down and down. He doesn't take plays off. He just dominated every snap, and he took him out of the game. Joseph did nothing on his side. Really, the major concerns for me is going to be the age. He's not as the youngest player, so that could limit some of his outside. He's got okay length. It's somewhat on the smaller side, so people believe that maybe he can fit better at guard. But I'm saying, man, if we're talking about, Sewell and Slater, they're going to be, they're going to be tackles next level, and we're not worried about their arm length, then why are we worried about this guy who has longer arms than those two? One legitimate concern here is definitely the injuries, and it was a back injury he suffered against Oklahoma, because I was watching the Oklahoma tape, and he played it was his worst graded game, by the way, was Oklahoma. And I was watching the Oklahoma tape, and I was about like a quarter into it, and I was like, okay, where's Teven Jenkins? Like, is he tired? Like, what's going on here? I watched like a whole other quarter. I'm like, okay, he is not on the field. Turned out he had an injury in that game, and then I guess he didn't play in his last game. So, we'll see, what he comes back like, but he did have an injury that is going to be concerning. I believe it was listed as a back injury. That's what the coach told them. I think some people labeled it as a hip injury as well. This is the lowest graded game, and even in that game, he looked strong. Even in that game, because that was the first game I watched, even in the time that he did play against Oklahoma, he looked good. I mean, there was so many, there was a lot of recognition there, the awareness, that's things always going on. He's always got his head moving. Sometimes his balance can be a little bit shaky. It can be a little bit shaky, his balance can, because, with short arms, sometimes you tend to compensate. You always tend to overexert yourself at a little bit of a rough position there, and his recovery speed isn't the best. So the first move does make him miss, which doesn't happen very often. He can lose some balance, and he can be in a tough spot, and then he loses some of that power and strength that he has to his game. But man, this guy is all around, got a lot of the boxes you want to check. Off the field, on the field, leadership. He checks all the boxes, a pass blocker, run blocker, scheme fit. I don't know what the consensus is going to be for this guy, but to me, he looks like a top 2015, he looks like one of the top offensive tackles in his class. I mean, it's hard because you got Sewell, you got Slater, you got Darsow, who's probably all going to be ahead of him. But if the Lions trade back and thinking, hey, we want to target tackle, and this guy's there, then that's your guy. If that's where you want to go, that's your guy. If they surprised and took him at 7, yeah, people probably would not like that. But I'm just telling you, this guy has talent. I mean, offensive tackles, they take time to hit. So for the Lions, this is an opportunity that they wouldn't have to start year 1 if he couldn't. And he may not have the extreme upside, but I think with his experience, he would be better year 1 than a lot of other guys, than some of the other tackles would. Lions want to go offensive tackle. If they want to scheme fit, there's no question that Teven Jenkins should be really, really high on the list. I'm not saying he's the best tackle. He probably doesn't have the best upside either, but he does a lot of things at a high level, and there's really no red flags aside from the injury in his game. He can play football, and I really like Teven Jenkins. I'm sorry that I haven't brought this guy to your attention. Teven Jenkins might be my favorite player in this draft right now. He might be. I mean, it sounds, kind of crazy, but there's a couple guys I like, but Teven Jenkins is up there. He's one of my favorite players in this draft. If we got Jenkins, I would be excited as heck. This would be our answer at right tackle. I'm saying it right now. In worst case, because of his arm length, he plays with the perfect guard mentality where you could slide him into guard, and there you go. You have a phenomenal guard, but he's versatile. He's already showed us that. So let me know your thoughts, comments below. What do you guys think about Teven Jenkins? Thank you for watching, and I'm out.